Good afternoon, my name is Nicholas, and today I'm going to be talking about why you should learn to observe, how this is a forgotten skill in our culture today, and why if we're not observing, we can often get caught up in the rat race. So I talked about this in my last video. One of the biggest things here in learning to observe in our culture is to take a step back. We know that we're not observing when we're not thinking, when we're just caught up in doing, responding, doing what other people say instead of thinking and acting on our own thoughts or strength. So taking a step back is a big key to this. I talked about this in my last video on how to get out of the rat race, but oftentimes we're caught up in this current that's just flying in one direction and we're stuck right in the middle of it. We need to take a step back and get out. And another example I use is, if you're in a sports game, if you're right up in the action, you can't observe the match. You need to be able to take a step back and really see what's going on. Same for life. If you're just caught up in this grind that people have sold you and you're not thinking for yourself, unfortunately, you're not gonna be able to think much. You're just gonna be going through the motions and flying through it. So taking a step back is a huge first key, so you can actually see and observe and think. It's hard to observe something when you're super close. It might seem like you're trying to observe it closely, but you don't have perspective, you can't see. All right, so then from this, I want to talk about principle from permaculture. This is one of the first things you learn in permaculture is to observe, and interact. So I'm going to give nature examples here to go with this, but so the idea with this in permaculture is let's say you get a new property. Before you start doing things on the property, you need to observe and see what is going on. So there's some main things you're looking for, maybe how water interacts with the property. Does it pool up in certain areas or certain areas dry? What sunlight does it get? Are trees covering it at certain parts of the year? Are trees not covering it? And a lot of these things take time to observe because there's 4 seasons in the year. So you're observing throughout the whole year and you're constantly thinking, how can I go along with what is already happening to improve it? So for things in your life, you may not want to go along with it directly. That's more of what the permaculture idea is. But observing and interacting is really important. You need to observe the patterns that are going on in life. Observe the things you enjoy, that you don't enjoy. Observe when you get angry, when you have joy. Things like that we don't often do because we're just flying straight through everything. We're listening to podcasts every 5 minutes. Maybe you're watching this video sitting on the toilet. Appreciative because you're watching the content, but we have to be honest with ourselves. We consume so much and we don't think very often. So seeing what to observe and interact with is kind of a part of the observation. It's taking a step back and looking for those specific things throughout the times and seasons. So going along with this, Tony Robbins talks about this, and I've been kind of talking about it, but look for patterns. So once you're looking for patterns, then you're able to observe a little easier because you're kind of looking for set molds. And you're looking for a specific thing, right? So like if I have a landscape here of tons of trees and I say look for a bird, it's much easier to point out a bird because you're looking for it specifically, you're looking for this image. Same thing when you're observing. Look for something specific. Maybe you have a boss and you want to observe their behavior. Do they actually follow up on what they say, or do they just talk out of one side of their mouth and then do something completely different? Maybe you're being gaslit. Lots of times, unfortunately, nowadays people are told one thing and then the exact opposite thing is what's actually happening. But if you're observing, looking for, is this true? And then you look for that specific thing, you're much quickly going to be able to come to the conclusion because you are looking for, is this true? Yes or no? And then you can observe that. And a lot of these things take time. It's not like an overnight thing. So that one's huge. Yeah, that's my last point here, is this fourth one, is that this takes time. And this might be another reason why our culture does this so poorly, is that it does take time. We want things ASAP. You know, if I said, here's this property, go observe it for a year so we can figure out how to optimally develop it, man, not too many people are going to have the patience to do that. But if we just keep going through the motions, we're not observing anything, there's not much long-term improvement we're going to be able to make, because we couldn't sacrifice a year of observing. So humbling thing, I think something, I mean, I definitely want to improve in this myself. But yeah, just wanted to go into a little more detail on this specifically. If you were able to watch the rat race video, awesome. If not, I'll link it here where I talk about this in a specific step of how to escape the rat race in more details. Let me know in your comments below if this is something that you struggle with. What are your tips as well? I'm open to learning from you. And I appreciate your time watching this video. Take care.